Margaret Chen stood at her kitchen counter, waiting for the coffee to finish brewing. The same Mr. Coffee machine she'd used for 12 years. Still worked fine. No need to replace things that weren't broken. The Seattle Times usually landed on her porch by 7:15. She poured coffee into her blue mug, 2 sugars, no cream. Grabbed her purple fleece robe from the hook by the door. The March morning hit her face with that special Pacific Northwest cold. Not freezing. Just damp enough to make your bones remember they're getting old. She stepped onto the porch. First step fine. Second step, IMA. Her left knee just quit. Like someone flipped a switch and turned it off. Her hand shot out for the railing. Caught it hard. The coffee mug shattered on the concrete. Brown liquid spreading across the step like a map of all the places she couldn't go anymore. Margaret lowered herself onto the cold step. Her knee throbbed. But worse than the pain was the knowing. This was how it started for her friend Ruth. For her sister-in-law Carol. A fall. Then a walker. Then someone else doing your grocery shopping. Then assisted living where they serve dinner at 4:30 in the afternoon. Margaret? You okay over there? Betty Sullivan's face appeared over the fence between their houses. 71 years old and still dyeing her hair red like she was fooling somebody. I'm fine. You're sitting on your step at 7:25 in the morning. With coffee all over. That's not fine. Betty came through the gate without asking. Helped Margaret up with surprising strength. Didn't mention the tears on Margaret's face. Inside, Betty made tea. 2 sugars, the way Margaret liked it. They sat at the kitchen table, Margaret had owned for 32 years. The one where Tom did his homework every night until he left for college. You need to call Tom, Betty said. He calls Sunday. That's in 5 days. Margaret. I said I'm fine. Just lost my balance for a second. Betty stayed until 8. Made sure Margaret could walk to the bathroom and back. Then she left to feed her cat. Or that's what she said. Really, she went home to worry. Margaret could see it in how she looked back 3 times before closing the door. Margaret sat alone at her table. Looked at the stairs leading to the 2nd floor. To her bedroom. To the bathroom with the good shower. 14 steps. She'd climbed them 10,000 times, easy. Maybe more. Tonight, she'd sleep on the couch. Tuesday came gray and drizzling. Margaret's knee had settled into a steady ache. Like a toothache, but in her leg. She drove herself to the clinic. Wouldn't ask Betty. Wouldn't show that kind of weakness. Appointment at 9. Saw Dr. Harrison at 9:45. He walked in checking his watch. Mrs. Chen. What brings you in today? She told him about the fall. The knee giving out. The fear of it happening again. He half listened while typing on his tablet. 8 minutes. That's how long he examined her knee. Pressed here. Bent there. Asked her to walk 6 steps. Muscle deterioration is completely normal after 65, he said. You're 68. These things are expected. Expected? The quadriceps lose 3 to 5% of mass annually after 60. Simple aging process. I'll prescribe physical therapy. Help slow the decline. Physical therapy cost $150 per session. Insurance covered 8 sessions total. After that, she was on her own. What about exercises I could do at home? Dr. Harrison looked at her like she'd asked him to perform magic. Mrs. Chen, without proper supervision, you could hurt yourself worse. Leave it to the professionals. The pharmacy line took 37 minutes. The pain medication cost $47 with her Medicare Part D coverage. The pharmacist, a young man who looked like Tom's age, explained the side effects. Drowsiness. Dizziness. Increased fall risk. Increased fall risk. From medication for falling. That evening, Margaret ate dinner standing at her kitchen counter. Afraid if she sat down, she might not get back up. The stairs mocked her from across the room. She set up a bed on the couch, told herself it was temporary. But temporary things have a way of becoming permanent when you're 68. Betty knocked at 8:30 Wednesday morning. Didn't wait for an answer. That's how they did things after 15 years as neighbors. We're walking, Betty announced. Don't argue. They made it 3 blocks. Margaret's knee buckled twice. Ended up on a bus bench, both breathing hard. This is ridiculous, Betty said. We used to walk 2 miles every morning. That was before. Before what? Before we decided to give up? Betty pulled out her phone. Started scrolling through Facebook with her reading glasses perched on her nose. Look at this. My cousin Ruth in Tacoma. Remember I told you she couldn't climb stairs 2 months ago? Margaret remembered. Ruth was 73. Had moved to a first-floor apartment because of her legs. Look at this video. Posted yesterday. Ruth climbing stairs at the Space Needle. 14 flights without stopping. Smiling at the top like she'd won something. How? I do haven't Brad. She found this therapist. The one the hospital fired. He taught her one weird exercise. That's what she calls it. One weird exercise that takes 4 minutes. Probably costs a fortune. Betty dug through her purse. Pulled out a bent business card. Dr. James Morrison. $20 senior special. Ruth gave me this when I visited last month. Said to call if my legs got worse. Margaret Googled him that afternoon. Found 3 angry statements from Seattle General Hospital. Found 14 5-star reviews from seniors. The hospital called his methods dangerous and unproven. The reviews called him a miracle worker and the only doctor who actually listened. That night, Margaret sat on her couch bed, holding the business card. $20. She'd spent more than that on coffee last week. What was the worst that could happen? She'd already fallen. Already been dismissed by her regular doctor. Already started sleeping downstairs like an invalid. She set her alarm for 9 in the morning. She'd call first thing. The address led to a strip mall on Rainier Avenue. Kim's Dry Cleaning. Subway sandwich shop. Empty storefront with for lease sign. And around back, a converted garage with a handwritten sign. Seniors welcome, no insurance needed. 6 plastic chairs in the waiting room. Water cooler with paper cups. Motivational posters that looked like they came from a school nurse's office. 2 other seniors sat waiting. A man with a walker, probably 75. A woman holding a cane across her lap like she was guarding it. Both looked exactly how Margaret felt. Scared. Tired. Running out of options. Dr. Morrison appeared at 10:30. Younger than she expected, maybe 42. Wore khakis and a polo shirt instead of a white coat. Had kind eyes that actually looked at you when you talked. Mrs. Chen? Come on back. His exam room was just a converted office. Desk from the 1980s. Medical degree from University of Washington on the wall. Photo of an older woman using parallel bars, Tentigrady, labeled Mom, Day 90. Tell me what's happening, he said. And then he did something Dr. Harrison hadn't done. He listened. 20 minutes of actually listening. Asked about her life before the fall. Asked what she was most afraid of losing. I don't want to leave my house, Margaret said. Tom thinks I should move to assisted living. But that house has 32 years of memories. My husband's roses are still growing in the backyard. Let me show you something, Dr. Morrison said. Takes 4 minutes. Might change everything. Dr. Morrison brought in a regular dining chair. Not special equipment, not some expensive machine. Just a wooden chair like the ones around Margaret's kitchen table. This is called the sit-stand-hold method, he said. I developed it treating my mother after her stroke. Doctors said she'd never walk again. She's the woman in that photo, climbing stairs at her apartment building. He demonstrated slowly. Sit down normally in the chair. Stand up counting to 5. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Hold the standing position for 3 seconds. Sit back down counting to 5. That's it? Margaret asked. That's it. But here's what's happening in your legs while you do it. He pulled out a laminated diagram. Pointed to muscle groups. Quadriceps activate during the stand. Hamstrings control the descent. Glutes stabilize throughout. Core engages to maintain balance. You're rebuilding the exact muscles that prevent falls. Margaret tried it. Her legs shook on the first one. By the 5th repetition, she found a rhythm. Start with 10 repetitions, twice daily, Dr. Morrison said. Morning and evening. Increase by 2 repetitions each week until you reach 20. Total time investment, MADI, 4 minutes per session. That's all? The medical establishment wants you to think recovery requires expensive equipment and constant supervision. But your muscles don't know if you're in a physical therapy clinic or your living room. They just know they're working. Margaret paid $20 cash. No insurance forms. No follow-up appointments pushed on her. Come back in a week if you want, Dr. Morrison said. Or don't. The exercise works whether I'm watching or not. Driving home, Margaret felt something she hadn't felt since the fall. Not quite hope, but maybe the possibility of hope. Like seeing a door cracked open when you thought they were all locked. Thursday evening, Margaret stood in her living room. Grabbed the back of her dining chair. Did 10 repetitions of the sit-stand hold. Her thighs burned. Her knee complained. But she completed all 10. Friday morning came with muscle soreness. The good kind. The kind that meant something was happening. She did 10 more repetitions before her coffee. This time, she didn't need to hold the chair back for balance. Friday evening, all 10 without furniture support. Legs steadier with each repetition. Even the sore knee seemed to cooperate better. Saturday morning, the exercise felt almost natural. Like her body remembered being strong and was grateful for the reminder. She added an afternoon session. 20 total repetitions for the day. That evening, she tested the stairs. First step, a solid. Second step, no wobble. Made it to the top using the railing just once. She stood in her bedroom doorway. Her actual bedroom. Where she'd slept beside Harold for 28 years until the cancer took him. Where she'd cried herself to sleep for 6 months after. Where she belonged. Sunday at 2 in the afternoon, Tom called for their weekly check-in. "How are you, Mom?" "I'm good. You sound different." "Everything okay?" She almost told him about the exercise. About Dr. Morrison. About climbing the stairs. But Tom would Google everything. Would find the hospital's warnings. Would worry about lawsuits and liability and all the things that software engineers worry about. Just had a good night's sleep, she said. That night, she did 12 repetitions without thinking about it. Her body just stood up and sat down like it was the most natural thing in the world. Like her muscles had been waiting 68 years for someone to show them this one simple thing. Monday morning, exactly 1 week since the fall. Margaret stood at the bottom of her stairs. No audience. No safety net. Just her and 14 steps. Up she went, steady as a clock. Down she came, confident and controlled. Did it twice more just to prove it wasn't luck. Tuesday. Betty knocked for their morning walk. Margaret opened the door, already dressed in her walking shoes. "You look different," Betty said. "Let's walk." They did their full 2-mile loop. No rest breaks. No bus bench stops. Betty kept stealing glances at Margaret like she was performing some kind of magic trick. Wednesday, Margaret carried 2 grocery bags up her stairs. 15 pounds each. The plastic handles cut into her hands, but her legs stayed solid as concrete posts. Thursday morning, she drove back to Dr. Morrison's garage clinic. "Show me," he said. She did 20 repetitions without a pause. He pulled out a handheld device, measured her leg strength. 40% improvement in 10 days. "That's faster than my mother recovered." "It can't be this simple," Margaret said. "The best solutions usually are. We just get convinced they need to be complicated." Betty started the exercise that afternoon. Did 8 repetitions before getting tired. By Friday morning, she managed all 10. Friday evening, March 14th, Betty stood in Margaret's living room. Held her cane in both hands. The metal one with 4 prongs at the bottom that she'd used for 8 months since her fall. "You sure about this?" Margaret asked. Betty walked to the garbage can. Dropped the cane in with a clang that sounded like freedom. "I'm 71 years old. If I'm going to fall, I'll fall walking like a normal person. Not shuffling behind this thing like I'm already dead." They celebrated with coffee and store-bought cookies. 2 women in their late 60s who'd found out the secret. The one simple exercise that rebuilds your muscle fast. Especially for legs, especially for seniors who'd been told decline was inevitable. Saturday morning. The doorbell rang at 9. Margaret never got visitors on Saturday except for the Jehovah's Witnesses, and they usually came at 8. A young woman stood on the porch. Professional blazer despite the weekend. Channel 7 news badge on a lanyard. "Mrs. Chen? I'm Jane Walsh. I'm investigating Dr. James Morrison and his exercise program." The word, investigating, hit like cold water. Margaret's first thought was that she'd done something wrong. Her second was protecting Dr. Morrison. "He helped me," Margaret said. "More than helped. He gave me my life back. The hospital says his methods are dangerous. That seniors could seriously injure themselves without proper medical supervision. Margaret almost laughed. You know what's dangerous? Falling because your doctor won't teach you a simple exercise. Taking medications that make you dizzy. Paying thousands for physical therapy that does less than 4 minutes of sit-stands. Jane Walsh pulled out her phone. Would you be willing to say that on camera? Margaret said yes without hesitating. Betty came over when she saw the news van. Both women demonstrated the exercise on Margaret's porch. Monday, March 17th, the segment aired on the 6 o'clock news. Controversial treatment or common sense? Seniors swear by banned doctor's method. The hospital's response came within 2 hours. An official statement about unproven treatments and liability concerns and protecting vulnerable populations. Big words that meant nothing except they didn't like competition. That night, a different kind of news broke. The Washington State Medical Board announced a formal investigation into Dr. James Morrison's practice. They'd received multiple complaints about dangerous protocols targeting elderly patients. Margaret sat on her couch, her upstairs bed now forgotten and unnecessary, holding her phone. Dr. Morrison had given her his cell number on a post-it note. Said to call if she had questions. She dialed before she could think too hard about it. They're coming after me, he said without preamble. Because I'm proving them wrong. What can we do? We? Mrs. Chen, this isn't your fight. Margaret thought about the 14 steps she'd climbed that morning. About Betty's cane in the garbage. About the thousands of dollars she hadn't spent on physical therapy. Yes, she said. It is. Tuesday morning, Margaret's phone started ringing at 7. By 7:30, she'd stopped answering. Every call was the same. Someone had seen the news. Someone wanted to learn the exercise. Someone was desperate. My hip hurts when I stand up from my recliner. I haven't climbed stairs in 3 years. My daughter wants me in assisted living. 23 calls before lunch. All from seniors in the neighborhood. All with the same fear in their voices. Betty came over at noon with her laptop. Look at this. She'd created a Facebook group Monday night after the news aired. Seniors who stand strong. 438 members in less than 24 hours. I don't understand Facebook, Margaret said. You don't need to. Just read the posts. A 74-year-old man from Ballard who'd started the exercise after seeing the news. An 81-year-old woman from Capitol Hill whose grandson found the video online. Story after story of people trying the sit-stand-hold method. We need to do something, Betty said. These people need help. Margaret called the Greenwood Community Center. She taught Sunday school there 40 years ago when Tom was little. The director, Nancy, remembered her. Thursday at 2, Nancy said. The main room is free. Holds about 60 people. Wednesday, Margaret made flyers. Simple things printed on her old HP printer. Learn the 4-minute exercise that rebuilds leg muscles. Free. No equipment needed. All seniors, welcome. Betty posted it on Facebook. Within 3 hours, 72 people said they were coming. Thursday afternoon, Margaret stood in front of 47 seniors. They filled the community center's metal folding chairs. Ages probably from 62 to 85. Some with walkers. Some with canes. All with that same look she'd had 2 weeks ago. Scared but trying not to show it. 3 weeks ago, I fell, Margaret started. My knee gave out and I thought my life was over. I thought I'd end up in assisted living, eating dinner at 4:30 in the afternoon. A few people laughed. They knew about the 4:30 dinners. She demonstrated the exercise slowly. Explained what Dr. Morrison had taught her. Had everyone try it together, carefully. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. 47 seniors standing up from folding chairs. 47 seniors holding the position. 47 seniors sitting back down with control. Some shaky. Some needed chair backs for balance. But all 47 did it. That's all? Asked a woman in the front row. That's all. 10 repetitions, twice a day. 4 minutes each session. After 17 days, I went from falling on my porch to this. Margaret climbed onto the community center's small stage using the stairs. No railing, no hesitation. The room exploded. Not with applause, exactly. More like a collective exhale of hope. Then the door opened. Dr. Morrison walked in. Someone started clapping. Then another. Soon all 47 seniors were on their feet again, this time in standing ovation. You shouldn't be here. Margaret whispered when she reached him. The investigation. They're investigating me for helping people, he said loud enough for everyone to hear. Let them. Friday morning, Seattle General Hospital held a press conference. 3 doctors in expensive suits stood behind a podium with the hospital logo. Dr. Harrison was one of them. Margaret watched on her laptop while Betty provided commentary. Look at that one's tie. Probably cost more than your $20 treatment. The chief medical officer spoke first. We're concerned about vulnerable seniors attempting unsupervised exercises that could result in serious injury. Proper medical supervision is essential for safe rehabilitation. They showed charts about fall statistics, quoted studies about elderly injury rates. Never mentioned that most falls happen to people under medical care. Dr. Harrison stepped to the microphone. I've personally seen patients hurt themselves trying internet remedies. Without proper assessment and monitoring, these exercises can cause more harm than good. You told me decline was normal. Margaret shouted at the screen. The third doctor, someone from the insurance industry, delivered the killing blow. Effective immediately, no insurance provider will cover treatments from unlicensed facilities using unproven methods. Saturday's Seattle Times ran the story on page 1 of the health section. Dangerous trend, seniors risk injury with viral exercise fad. They called it a fad. Like it was the ice bucket challenge, instead of people trying to walk without falling. Sunday afternoon, Tom called at his usual 2 o'clock time. Mom, I saw the news coverage. Tom, you could get sued. If someone gets hurt at one of your classes, they could come after you. After the house. After everything, Dad left you. His voice had that software engineer tone. All logic and risk assessment. No room for what actually mattered. I'm helping people. You're not a doctor. You're not a physical therapist. You're a retired teacher who learned an exercise 3 weeks ago. Margaret felt each word like a small cut. Because Tom wasn't wrong. Not about the facts. But facts weren't everything. I was also someone who couldn't climb stairs, she said. Now I can. That's all these people need to know. Sunday night, 14 seniors called. All scared to continue. All worried about lawsuits and injuries and insurance companies. The opposition's press conference had worked exactly as intended. Margaret sat at her kitchen table where she'd done Tom's homework with him every night for 12 years. Where she'd taught him that standing up for what's right mattered more than being safe. She pulled out her old teacher's planning notebook. Started writing names. The 14 who'd called. The 47 from the community center. Betty's 892 Facebook members. They weren't just numbers. They were people who deserved better than being told decline was inevitable. Monday morning, 5 in the morning, Margaret woke with purpose. She made coffee, opened her notebook, and started making calls at 7. Mrs. Rodriguez? This is Margaret Chen. You came to the community center Thursday. How are your exercises going? 31 calls by noon. Documented each person's progress. 23 reported improvement between 25 and 60%. Rosa Martinez, age 72, I carried my granddaughter upstairs yesterday. She weighs 30 pounds. Haven't done that in 2 years. ID. Bill Thompson, age 69, walked 18 holes of golf. Usually need a cart after 9. Dorothy Kim, age 78, canceled my physical therapy. Saving $150 a week. Tuesday morning, Margaret called Jane Walsh at Channel 7. I have evidence, Margaret said. Real people. Real improvement. Real numbers. They met at a coffee shop downtown. Margaret brought her notebook. 3 pages of handwritten documentation. Names, ages. Specific improvements. Number of days doing the exercise. This is incredible, Jane said. But I need them on camera. Give me 1 day. Wednesday morning, Margaret had 12 seniors in her living room. All willing to tell their stories. Jane and her cameraman turned the house into a mini studio. Each person demonstrated their improvement. Climbing stairs, standing from low chairs, walking without assistance. All from 4 minutes of exercise, twice daily. The segment aired Thursday morning on the 7 o'clock show. The other side of the story, seniors show dramatic improvement with simple exercise. Within 6 hours, the video had 45,000 views online. Comments poured in from across the country. Seniors in Florida, Texas, Maine, all trying the sit-stand-hold method. All reporting improvement. Tom texted instead of calling. "Mom, you're trending on Twitter." Margaret didn't know what Twitter was, but Betty did. She brought her laptop over. Showed Margaret thousands of people sharing the video. Number Stand Strong was trending. Whatever that meant. But more important were the private messages. Hundreds of them. From adult children whose parents had improved, from seniors who'd canceled surgery, from doctors, 2 actual medical doctors, saying they'd started recommending the exercise to patients. "We're winning," Betty said. "We're helping," Margaret corrected. "That's different." Friday morning, 3 senior centers called Margaret directly. Greenwood wanted her back. Ballard Lutheran offered their basement. Shoreline Community Center had 43 people on a waiting list. "I can't be everywhere," Margaret told Betty. "Then teach others to teach." Saturday morning, Margaret held her first instructor training. 12 seniors who'd been doing the exercise for at least 2 weeks. She taught them exactly what Dr. Morrison had taught her. Proper form and counting rhythm. How to spot someone struggling. When to suggest modifications. Never push beyond comfort. By Sunday, those 12 were teaching others. Greenwood had 30 participants. Ballard Lutheran had 25. Shoreline filled their community room with 44 seniors, all standing and sitting in unison. Monday, March 31st. Margaret was teaching at 4 locations weekly. Not for money. She didn't charge anything. Just for the look on people's faces when they realized they were getting stronger. Betty's Facebook group passed 892 members in 11 days. Videos poured in from everywhere. A man in Tacoma throwing away his walker, a woman in Spokane climbing her apartment stairs for the first time in 4 years. Dr. Morrison asked Margaret to visit his clinic. When she arrived, 15 people were in his converted garage waiting room. All there because of the news coverage. "I need help," he said. "I can't see everyone who wants to learn. Would you be my official instructor?" Margaret said yes immediately. No pay involved, TPD, she didn't need it. Just the title, Senior Fitness Instructor. That night, she updated her Facebook profile with Betty's help. Margaret Chen, retired teacher and senior fitness instructor. It felt like wearing a badge of honor she'd earned one squat at a time. Tuesday, April 1st. April Fool's Day. But what Jane Walsh discovered was no joke. She called Margaret at 8 in the morning, voice tight with excitement. "I've been investigating why the hospital really fired Dr. Morrison. You need to hear this." They met at the same coffee shop. Jane had a folder thick with documents. Medicare billing records. Hospital financial report. Insurance claim forms. Dr. Morrison was fired for refusing to bill unnecessary procedures, Jane said. He'd teach patients simple exercises instead of scheduling them for 12 weeks of physical therapy. The hospital lost $2.3 million in billing because his patients didn't need extended treatment. The average senior at Seattle General got 24 PT sessions. Dr. Morrison's patients averaged 3 visits. Each session the hospital billed Medicare $300. They fired him for helping people too quickly? Margaret couldn't process it. They fired him for threatening their business model. Wednesday, April 2nd, the story broke on the evening news. Jane had receipts, documents, testimony from 3 hospital employees who'd seen it happen. The public response was immediate and furious. The hospital's phone lines jammed. Their Facebook page filled with angry comments. Local politicians started making statements about investigating Medicare fraud and protecting seniors from exploitation. Thursday morning, the hospital CEO released a statement about an internal review and commitment to patient care and other words that meant nothing but sounded official. But the damage was done, the truth was out. The simple exercise that rebuilds muscle fast, BD, especially for legs, wasn't dangerous. It was dangerous to profits. Dr. Morrison's clinic was packed. Seniors who'd been afraid came in droves. He had to schedule appointments in the parking lot, teaching groups of 20 on the asphalt. "This is your victory," he told Margaret. "This is our beginning," she corrected. Friday, April 4th, the news everyone was waiting for arrived. The Washington State Medical Board dropped their investigation. 312 seniors had submitted testimony about their improvement. The board couldn't ignore that kind of evidence. Saturday afternoon, the Greenwood Community Center hosted a victory party. 200 seniors attended. Someone made a banner, "Standing Strong Together." The local newspaper sent a photographer. Margaret was presented with a plaque, "Senior Fitness Revolutionary." She tried to refuse it, but Betty grabbed the microphone. "This woman fell on her porch a month ago. Today she's teaching hundreds of people how to rebuild their strength. If that's not revolutionary, I don't know what is." The crowd erupted in applause. People demonstrated their improvements. A 76-year-old man did 20 repetitions without stopping. Sunday morning brought the best surprise. Tom's face appeared in Margaret's doorway. "Thought I'd come check on Seattle's newest fitness celebrity." "How did you?" "Betty called me. Said I needed to see this for myself." Margaret stood from her couch. "Walked to the stairs. Watch this." She climbed up and down twice. Then, just to show off, she picked up Tom's suitcase, the heavy one with the broken wheel, and carried it upstairs like it was a purse. Tom stood at the bottom of the stairs with his mouth open. "Mom, that suitcase weighs 40 pounds. The exercise rebuilds muscle fast. Want me to teach you?" That afternoon, Tom learned the sit-stand-hold method in the same living room where Margaret had done her first repetition 4 weeks earlier. His legs shook just like hers had. But he completed all 10. The local news announced a week-long series. The Exercise Revolution: How Seattle Seniors Changed Healthcare. Margaret was interviewed 3 times. Dr. Morrison was vindicated. The hospital faced investigations. Sunday evening, Tom sat with Margaret at her kitchen table. The same one where she'd helped him with homework. Where she'd cried after Harold died. Where she'd decided to fight back. "I'm proud of you, Mom." "For what?" "For proving me wrong. For proving everyone wrong." Margaret demonstrated the exercise one more time before bed. 10 perfect repetitions. Her legs strong and steady. Tomorrow she'd teach 40 more people. The day after, maybe 60. All of them learning the one simple exercise that rebuilds muscle fast. Monday, April 7th, 2 in the afternoon. Margaret stood in front of her largest class yet, 43 seniors at the Ballard Community Center. She was demonstrating the hold position when it happened. Her left knee didn't give out gradually. It collapsed like someone cut a wire. Complete and immediate failure. She fell hard to the right, catching the edge of a table. Pain shot from her knee to her hip like lightning following a wire. Someone screamed. Multiple people rushed forward. "Call 911. Don't move her." Number 1. Number 1. Get ice. Margaret tried to stand. The leg wouldn't hold any weight at all. Nothing. Like it wasn't even there anymore. The same leg that had carried Tom's suitcase yesterday. The same leg that had climbed 1,000 stairs in the past month. The ambulance arrived in 12 minutes. Tom got the call while Margaret was being loaded onto the stretcher. He was there when they wheeled her into the emergency room at Swedish Medical Center, Levels, not Seattle General, thank God. The X-ray told the story. Torn cartilage. Complete separation. The kind of injury that needs immediate surgery. How long for recovery? Tom asked the surgeon. Minimum 3 months in a wheelchair. Then probably 3 more months of physical therapy. At her age, we're looking at 6 to 8 months before normal walking. Betty arrived crying, mascara running down her cheeks. "This is my fault. I pushed you too hard. We all pushed too hard. Too fast." Dr. Morrison came that evening. Stood in the doorway of Margaret's hospital room like he was afraid to enter. "I did this to you," he said. "My exercise. I should have seen. Stop." Margaret's voice came out harder than intended. "Just stop." But he was already gone. The community center canceled all exercise classes immediately. The Facebook group filled with posts about lawsuit fears and insurance liability. People who'd thrown away their canes were shopping for new ones. Monday night, Margaret lay in her hospital bed, staring at the ceiling. The morphine made everything fuzzy, but one thought stayed sharp: she'd become the cautionary tale. The reason seniors shouldn't try to improve. The proof that declines was safer than fighting back. Tuesday morning, 6 o'clock. The surgeon, Dr. Patel, explained the procedure. 2 hours of surgery. Metal pins. Possible complications, including infection, blood clots, permanent mobility loss. "I've seen the news coverage," he said, "about your exercise movement. This injury, it might not be related. But people will think it is. Dr. Morrison visited at 9. Brought Margaret's medical files from his clinic. Spent an hour going through them, frowning at something. What? Margaret asked. Nothing. Maybe nothing. I need to check something. The community center director called. 43 witnesses to Margaret's fall meant 43 potential lawsuits. They needed to protect themselves. No more exercise classes on their property. Betty's Facebook group went from celebration to panic. Posts about injuries. Fears about pushing too hard. Demands for medical supervision. Everything the hospital had warned about seeming suddenly real. Wednesday morning, the surgery. Margaret counted backward from 100, made it to 93. When she woke, Tom was there. Laptop open, browsing websites. What are you doing? Looking at assisted living facilities. There's a nice one in Wallingford. 1-bedroom apartments. 3 meals a day. They even have an exercise room. Tom. Mom, you can't go home like this. 14 stairs, remember? Bathroom on the 2nd floor. You'll be in a wheelchair for 3 months. He was right. The house she'd fought to stay in was now impossible to navigate. Everything she'd worked for undone by one collapsed knee. Thursday, April 10th. They wheeled Margaret home in a chair that barely fit through her doorway. Tom had installed a temporary ramp over the porch steps. Set up a portable commode in the dining room. Moved her clothes to the ground floor. Her house had become a hospital room. And she'd become exactly what she'd feared, too a burden to her son, dependent on others, trapped in a chair. That night, she sat by the window watching neighbors walk by. Free. Mobile. Taking steps she might never take again. Betty came over but wouldn't do the exercises anymore. Too scared. Too guilty. Everyone was scared now. The movement that had given hundreds of people hope had collapsed as quickly as Margaret's knee. Friday morning, Margaret's first full day home in the wheelchair. The refrigerator might as well have been on the moon. The upper cabinets were completely unreachable. Her coffee mugs, cries, the blue one Harold bought her, the Seattle Public Schools retirement one, sat useless on the high shelf. Tom had arranged everything before leaving for his hotel. Water bottles on the counter, sandwiches in a cooler beside her chair. Pills in a weekly organizer where she could reach them. Like she was a child who needed supervision. Like 68 years of living meant nothing. Like this chair was her life now. Betty came by at 10. Stood in the doorway, holding a casserole dish like a peace offering. I made tuna noodle. Your favorite. I can't reach the microwave. Betty heated a portion, set it on the TV tray Tom had bought. They ate in silence. The elephant in the room wasn't Margaret's wheelchair. It was the exercise Betty wasn't doing anymore. I'm scared, Betty finally said. What if my knee goes too? Then you'll end up like me. That's what I'm afraid of. Saturday, Margaret watched her neighbors through the window. The Johnsons walking their golden retriever. The new couple from apartment 3 jogging past. Everyone moving except her. Sunday arrived with Tom's regular 2 o'clock call. Except he didn't call. He knocked. He'd extended his stay without telling her. I've found 3 good facilities, he said, pulling out his tablet. Virtual tours of each one. This one in Wallingford has a pool. I don't swim. You could learn. Tom, I'm not moving to assisted living. Mom, look around. You're already in assisted living. I'm the assistance. Monday morning, she tried reaching the kitchen sink. The wheelchair was too low. She couldn't wash her own dishes. Couldn't water the spider plant Harold had given her 20 years ago. Couldn't do anything but sit and exist. That night, she cried for the first time since the surgery. Not from pain. From the knowing. This was how it would be. This chair. This limitation. This slow shrinking of her world until it was just a bed and a television and meals at 4:30. Tuesday morning, Dr. Morrison appeared at Margaret's door with his laptop and a thick folder. I've been reviewing your medical records, he said. Going back 5 years. Your primary care doctor, Dr. Harrison, he ordered an MRI in 2023. For my back pain. After I played tennis with Betty. Did he tell you the results? Said I had normal aging. Some arthritis. Dr. Morrison opened the folder. Pointed to the MRI report. You had a partial tear in your left knee cartilage. 2 years ago. From that tennis match. The tear was documented in medical terminology. Partial thickness tear of medial meniscus. Recommend orthopedic consultation. He never told me. There's more. Dr. Morrison pulled out billing records. He scheduled you for surgery consultation 6 times over 2 years. Cancelled each one. Billed Medicare for the consultations anyway. Margaret stared at the papers. Why would he? Because surgery would have fixed you. Fixed patients don't need weekly appointments. Don't need prescription refills. Don't generate steady billing. Wednesday morning, Dr. Morrison called again. He'd spoken to 3 orthopedic surgeons about Margaret's case. Your knee was going to collapse no matter what. The exercise didn't cause it. If anything, the strengthening you did delayed it. Without those stronger muscles, you would have had complete ligament failure. So, the exercise saved you from worse. Much worse. Thursday, Jane Walsh from Channel 7 arrived with her cameraman. Dr. Morrison had called her with the evidence. Margaret told the story from her wheelchair. The hidden injury. The cancelled consultations. The way Dr. Harrison had let her walk around with a ticking time bomb in her knee. He knew? Jane asked for the 3rd time, making sure. He knew for 2 years. Never told me. Collected Medicare payments for consultations that never happened. Friday, April 18th, the story exploded. Doctor hid patient's injury for profit. The hospital suspended Dr. Harrison pending investigation. The Medicare fraud unit opened a case. But more important than the scandal was the vindication. The exercise hadn't caused Margaret's injury. It had prevented a catastrophic collapse that could have happened on stairs, in a parking lot, anywhere. Saturday, calls poured in. Seniors who'd stopped exercising wanted to know if it was safe to start again. Betty stood in Margaret's living room, tears streaming. I threw away your method because I was scared. But you were right all along. We were right. The exercise works. My knee was already broken. Had been for 2 years. Friday again, April 18th, TO7 day, the same day the story broke. Jane Walsh called Margaret with more information. I found 12 other cases. Seniors with hidden injuries. Doctors who knew but didn't tell them. All at hospitals affiliated with Seattle General. Partial tears documented but never disclosed. Surgeries that could have helped, never offered. Years of unnecessary suffering for billing purposes. It's systematic, Jane said. They're keeping seniors dependent for profit. Saturday's investigation revealed more. If Margaret had gotten surgery 2 years ago, it would have cost $50,000. Once. But 2 years of office visits, medications, and physical therapy had billed Medicare for $120,000. They made $70,000 by letting me suffer, Margaret said to Tom. Sunday, the public outrage reached a peak. The Seattle Times ran a front-page expose. The governor called for healthcare reform. Medicare announced a full audit of Seattle General's billing practices. Monday, Margaret realized something. She started doing modified exercises from her wheelchair. Not the full, sit stand hold, FA. She couldn't stand yet. But leg lifts. Knee bends. Everything she could do sitting down. What are you doing? Tom asked. The same thing I did before. Fighting back. Tuesday, her physical therapist arrived for the first official session. Looked at Margaret's legs, confused. Your muscle tone is remarkable for someone a week post-surgery. What have you been doing? 4 minutes of exercise, twice a day. Show me. Margaret demonstrated the modified movements. The therapist took notes. This is brilliant. You're maintaining strength while recovering. Most patients lose 30% of muscle mass in wheelchairs. You might actually gain strength. Wednesday, Margaret filmed herself doing wheelchair exercises. Betty posted it on Facebook with the caption, "She's down but not out. The exercise works even from a chair." 800 views in 3 hours. Comments from other wheelchair-bound seniors wanting to learn. The movement that had seemed dead was stirring back to life. Tuesday, April 22nd. 2 weeks since surgery, Margaret's physical therapist brought a walker. Let's try standing. Just for a few seconds. Margaret pushed up from the wheelchair. Her right leg held firm, all those exercises had kept it strong. The left leg, wrapped in bandages and braces, touched the ground gently. How does it feel? Like a leg. Weak, but there. Wednesday, she took 3 steps with the walker. Thursday, she made it to the kitchen. Friday, the length of the hallway and back. "This is unprecedented," the therapist said. 6 weeks minimum is normal before walking. You're doing it in 2. The exercise rebuilt my muscles before. It's rebuilding them now. Saturday, April 26th, Margaret climbed a single step. Tom stood behind her, hands ready to catch. Betty stood in front, crying again but happy tears this time. 1 step, Margaret said. 13 to go. Sunday. Tom extended his stay again. Not because Margaret needed help, but because he couldn't believe what he was seeing. "Mom, people in their 30s don't recover this fast. People in their 30s don't do the sit-stand-hold method for 4 minutes twice a day." Monday, April 28th, Margaret walked to the mailbox. 40 feet from her door. Used the walker, moved slowly, but did it alone. The mail carrier, Dennis, who'd been delivering for 12 years, actually applauded. That evening, she posted on Betty's Facebook group for the first time. Betty typed while Margaret dictated. Week 3 updates, walking to the mailbox. Climbing 1 step, doing modified exercises twice daily. The doctor said 6 months. I'm saying 6 weeks. The exercise that rebuilds muscle fast works even after surgery. Especially for legs. Especially for seniors who refuse to give up. Tuesday, May 6th. 4 weeks post-surgery. Margaret stood in her living room without the walker. Just stood there, both legs holding weight, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Her physical therapist arrived for the weekly check. Stopped in the doorway, staring. "That's not possible. Watch this." Margaret walked across the room. Slow but steady. No assistance. Normal recovery is 6 months. You're walking freely at 4 weeks. I maintained muscle strength through the whole process. The exercise never stopped working. Wednesday, Margaret returned to teaching. Not standing, separese, she taught from a chair at the Greenwood Community Center. 20 seniors showed up despite their fears. "I'm proof the exercise works," she said. "My knee was already torn. The exercise didn't cause the injury, it prevented worse. And now it's helping me recover faster than anyone predicted." Thursday, Jane Walsh did a follow-up story. Miracle recovery, woman walks 4 weeks after surgery that usually takes 6 months. The video included Margaret's surgeon, Dr. Patel, looking baffled at her progress charts. "I've done 300 knee surgeries. I've never seen muscle retention like this during recovery." Friday, May 9th, Margaret walked a full mile with Betty. Slow, with rest breaks, but a mile. Betty had started exercising again 3 days after learning the truth about Margaret's hidden injury. "I threw away another cane yesterday," Betty said. "My 3rd one. Keep buying them when I get scared, then throwing them away when I get brave." Saturday, week 6. Margaret carefully tried the full sit-stand-hold exercise. Her physical therapist watched, ready to intervene. Down into the chair, FID, controlled. Up to standing, I, smooth. Hold for 3 seconds. Solid. Back down counting to 5, perfect. How? This exercise rebuilds muscle fast. That's not just marketing. It's fact. By week 8, Margaret was stronger than before the injury. Could climb all 14 stairs, could carry groceries. Could do everything she'd done before, plus something new. She had medical documentation proving the exercise worked. Monday, June 2nd. Margaret's comeback story went viral. Not just local news anymore. National coverage. 2.3 million views in 48 hours. Comments poured in from seniors across the country. From adult children whose parents had given up. From physical therapists wanting to learn the method. From doctors admitting they'd been wrong. Dr. Morrison received a grant from a senior advocacy group. 4 new clinics funded immediately. Volunteer staff, MAS, retired nurses and therapists who believed in the method. All teaching the same simple exercise. "We need instructors," he told Margaret. Official ones. Certified. Margaret developed a certification program. 3-day training. Proper form, safety modifications. When to refer to medical professionals. Real structure to protect people while helping them improve. Insurance companies started paying attention. The data was undeniable. Seniors doing the exercise cost 60% less in medical claims. Fewer falls. Fewer surgeries. Fewer long-term care admissions. "We'll cover it," Blue Cross announced. Then Aetna. Then Medicare itself. Margaret taught 5 classes a week now. 200 students total. Ages 55 to 93, all standing and sitting in rhythm. All rebuilding muscle with 4 minutes of effort twice daily. Tom made his own announcement at Sunday dinner. "We're moving to Seattle. What about your job? I can work remotely." The kids need to know their grandmother. The real one. The one who fell down 7 times and got up 8. That wasn't quite accurate, but Margaret didn't correct him. The exact number of times didn't matter. Only the getting up part mattered. Saturday, September 13th. 6 months since Margaret's surgery. She stood at the starting line of the Mercer Island 5K for Senior Fitness. 500 supporters wore light blue t-shirts. "Stand Strong" printed on the front. One simple exercise on the back. Betty stood beside her in matching outfit, no cane in sight. "You sure about this?" Betty asked. "I'm 68 years old. I fell on my porch. Had knee surgery. Spent 3 weeks in a wheelchair. If I can run a 5K now, anyone can do the exercise." The starting horn sounded at 8 in the morning. Margaret didn't run, exactly. More like a quick walk with occasional jogging intervals. But she moved forward steadily, passing people half her age. 1 mile in 14 minutes. 2 miles in 28. 3.1 miles in 42 minutes. Tom waited at the finish line with his family. Margaret's grandchildren, 8 and 11 now, held a sign, "Our Grandma Stands Strong." The race raised $8,000 for senior fitness programs. But more important was the message. Hundreds of seniors crossing that finish line, many who couldn't climb stairs a year ago. Dr. Morrison had a booth at the Finish Festival, teaching the exercise to anyone who wanted to learn. His 4 clinics had become 24. The method was being taught in 2,400 senior centers nationally. "You did this," he told Margaret. "We did this. You discovered it. I just refused to keep it secret." That evening, dinner with 50 seniors at a real restaurant. Not at 4:30, at 6 like normal people. Everyone talking about their improvements. Their cancelled surgeries. Their discarded walkers. Margaret stood to make a toast. Lifted her water glass, she didn't drink alcohol anymore, interfered with the exercising. "1 year ago, I fell. Today, I ran 3 miles. Tomorrow, I'll teach 40 more people to stand strong." That's what we do. We fall down 7 times. We stand up 8. And we do it with one simple exercise that rebuilds muscle fast. Monday, March 3, 2025. Exactly 1 year since the fall that started everything. Margaret woke at 6:45. Made coffee in the same Mr. Coffee machine. It still worked fine. No need to replace things that weren't broken. She taught the 8 o'clock morning class at Greenwood. 40 new students, all over 60, all scared they were too old to improve. 1 year ago today, I fell on my porch, she began. My knee gave out and I thought my life was over. She told the story they'd come to hear. The fall. The exercise. The injury that wasn't caused by exercise but by medical malpractice. The recovery that shouldn't have been possible. The movement that changed senior fitness nationwide. But here's what matters. I'm 69 now. Stronger than I was at 60. And all from 4 minutes of exercise, twice a day. She demonstrated the sit, stand, hold. 40 seniors followed along. Down for 5 counts. Hold for 3. Up for 5. Simple. Effective. Life-changing. After class, she drove to Dr. Morrison's newest clinic. Cut the ribbon as Patient Zero, the first success story of thousands. Hundreds of people applauded, local news covered it. But Margaret was already thinking about tomorrow's class. That afternoon, Tom and his family came for dinner. Margaret's house, not a restaurant. She cooked Harold's famous pot roast recipe. Carried the heavy dish up from the basement freezer. Up those 14 stairs that had once seemed impossible. After dinner, she carried her youngest grandchild upstairs to the guest room. 28 pounds of sleeping child. Her legs solid and strong with each step. Later, she stood on her porch with her evening coffee. Same porch. Same steps where she'd fallen. But everything was different now. The sun set over Seattle, painting the sky orange and pink. Neighbors walked by, many of them her students. They waved. She waved back. Tomorrow, she'd teach 40 more seniors. Show them the simple exercise that rebuilds muscle fast. especially for legs. Especially for people who'd been told decline was inevitable. Betty appeared at the fence. Walking tomorrow? 7:30 sharp. I'll bring my new neighbor. She's 75. Thinks she's too old to improve. Nobody's too old to improve. Margaret stood on the second step of her porch. The exact spot where her knee had given out 1 year ago. She did 10 sit-stand holds right there, counting out loud. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Strong. Steady. Standing. The exercise worked. 4 minutes, twice a day. That's all it took to rebuild a life. She was living proof. And tomorrow, she'd create 40 more success stories. She went inside, climbed her stairs to her bedroom, PAG, the bedroom she'd thought she'd never see again. Set her alarm for 6:45. Same time as always. Some things didn't need to change. They just needed to stay strong.